defence or war. And we have to be able to use a weapon sometimes to defend ourselves. And maybe there's sort of horrible people in our family and you have to defend yourself. Maybe in the place you live, we have to defend ourselves. So this is the warrior, that's the king, that's the warrior. But also, as we are growing towards the summer solstice, and we're going to work out what specially is going to grow in our life, we're going to ask for guidance about that, we also may have to use magic in a way, special breakthrough skill. Because we're so often stuck in our assumptions, stuck in our life patterns, and often it takes like magic to get out. So this is like a sort of magical sword, for working between the worlds. So you can see how I brought this along. And of course, another of the ancient magical weapons was the wand, and there was another, that young lady there was an expert in the wand, wasn't she? And she made a wish. And so in a sense, these are things that can appeal to children. They certainly appeal to our ancient ancestors. But we actually need these powers, because otherwise we simply take the way this society tells us life's about. And it isn't like that. So in a moment we'll be working out what in each of our precious lives we want to grow between now and midsummer, when the sun gets bigger and bigger every day. And we may have to defend ourselves, we may have to draw on our power, and we may need to sort of think about material things. Where am I going to live? Have I got enough money? And we may, have to be open to magic and healing, because we might have scripts, habits that just mean we're stuck. So, and of course we've got to remember, and this is really important, the cauldron of plenty. You see, Maggie does loads of healing modalities, and the fact is the universe actually is offering us, life and healing, if we can tap into that. And so often it's our mindsets, it's the programming of society, it's the scripts our mother and father gave us that say, you mustn't try and reach for abundance. But each of us has a sense of abundance, and so we can draw on the cauldron of plenty, the cauldron of the great God, the Dagda. So the first thing I'd like to do, before we do the big meditation about what's going to grow in my life, but I've drawn on a rune, and the second one I've drawn on the Ogham. So the runes are the alphabet of the ancient Norse, and the Ogham are the alphabet of the ancient Irish Druids, and I sort of use and teach both. And sort of weirdly, my blood is both, because my father his family, he grew up on the Baltic Sea coast, and I had a DNA test, and I've even got Yakut tribesmen in my blood, but they sort of live on the polar sea in the very north of Russia. They obviously came down the Baltic because I've got it in my blood somehow. And on my mother's side, they've been in Galway for thousands of years, the family. And indeed, the ancient Irish Druids used the Ogham, the tree alphabet. So the runes were said to be invented by the great Norse god Odin. And he was a warrior and a magician. And basically the story is that the ancient Norse headed towards their homelands in the Northlands around the Baltic. And on the way, Odin hung upside down in the world tree Yggdrasil for 9 days and nights, trancing and suffering. And in the branches of the trees, he saw the letters of the rune alphabet. And this is the first one, Feu, the rune of value. And I brought this one along because we've got to value ourselves. And quite often we've been brought up, you're not worth anything. Oh, you're nothing like your cousin, or something like that. A girl's not good, we wanted a boy. I mean, all these scripts are in. But the ancient Ogham alphabet allegedly was created by the god Ogama, who was one of the gods of the Tuatha and he was a warrior and a writer. And each of the Ogham letters catches the energy of a tree. And so I actually teach courses worldwide where I send people audios. And so if you think about it, oak, you really sort of meditate on oak. Its strength, its solidity, it endures, it lasts. And we need that quality. But this is made of rowan, this wand. Well, rowan is sort of fairy, magical energy. Think of the white flowers, the red berries. We also need to be able to enter the magic worlds. And Ogham has a great sense that this world isn't the whole story at all. Many other worlds penetrate this world. So what I'm going to do first of all is a rune journey, fail. And basically when you're doing rune journeys, you can do what's called rune starts. You can stand in the shape of the rune. That's the rune of value, Feo. And they did that because the Norse, when they were travelling, their wealth was cattle. It was before money. And so in a sense, when they did this, they saw their cattle, under their arms. That was their wealth. And we all need wealth. So I'm going to do a brief trance where you work out what is of value in your life. So I'm going to drum and maybe say a few words, or if you're lucky, I'll shut up. And so the big thing is, what value do you have? And are there any wounds to your value? Sort of scripts or even like spells put in you which stop you realising how valuable you are. And your family can do that, this society can do that, and of course at the end of the day we do it to ourselves. So if you like, you could shut your eyes and I'll journey and for the rune Feo. And I'll say a few things, but if what comes into your mind is different pictures, that's valuable. Don't just follow what I'm saying. So if you shut your eyes,